Join the Mark Order.
Just vibing along like nothing's going on. That's all I'm doing. Feeling the vibe. It's Wednesday night. You know what that means. It's time for the Mark Order Podcast, episode 55. Holy shit, Ryan. 55.
It's a solid number.
That is an offensive lineman number.
Or like a defenseman in hockey.
Something. It's not really a baseball number. I mean, it could be, but it's not really a great one.
It's a linebacker in football.
Yeah, you're right. Linebacker. Yeah. Here, number 55, the Mark Order Podcast. Tonight, it's a special two live crew. Two for me. Two for you. I always get this mixed up.
If you watch it, I actually thought about it.
Ryan Schlong's here with me tonight. I'm AntMoney. Ryan, what's up, man?
Not much. Really excited after that ending. I mean, I'm just raring to go.
What an ending to Dynamite. We'll talk about it for sure, because that's going to be the one thing we all want to talk about. The ending to Dynamite tonight. But we'll get there in due time. Listen. We should have probably started a couple minutes late because they overran so much on TBS. Tony Khan made it known that they have the okay to run over. And yeah, they were scheduled to go to 10:02, baby.
I have a conspiracy theory on this.
Yeah.
I legitimately...
Is it the bots?
No, but it's related to Twitter and the world. So this past week, in case anyone's unaware, and it might be in your news and notes, but it doesn't really matter, Discovery bought Warner Media.
Mm-hmm.
So now Discovery owns TBS and owns TNT. And then so some troll accounts out there started this whole thing of like, well, maybe AEW won't get renewed on TNT because they have blood and cursing, and this Discovery wants all their stuff to be PG. Literally just making up rumors.
Right.
But I just find it very suspicious that on the week that this was going all over the internet, Tony's like, TBS loves us so much that we got an overrun for 2 minutes, but still like a whole point of like, we're so loved, we got an overrun.
2 minutes. That's a lot of overrun.
I think it's just to prove a point of like, now we're fine.
I think it's the bot overlords taking over social media, quite honestly. We could talk about that later for sure.
Oh my God.
It's the bot overlords. So anyway, Ryan's here. To all you people looking for Kate, beat it. She's not going to be here tonight. She's apparently lost her voice. Her first play-by-play gig, or color commentary gig, and she lost her voice. I guess she was really going all out.
She was very excited. Yes. That only works if you knew she did it for Excite Wrestling.
I get it. My silence should just tell you everything you need to know about that pun.
I don't care about yours. I'm making sure the listeners know that it was Excite Wrestling. That building, that place, you had to scream to talk, even if you were a commentator. So I'm assuming that's where her voice went.
I mean, she barely talks into the mic on this show, so maybe she just needs to talk into that microphone. Swallow the mic. Really get deep on it, just like this. Really get in there on the mic.
You're really going for that ASMR work.
I mean, we really could do the ASMR thing if you really want to.
No, I'm not someone who likes it. It creeps me out.
I'm just going to sit here and comb my beard into the microphone so you can hear it.
Let me go get a pickle. I will eat a pickle on the mic.
I hate ASMR. I don't get it.
It gives me the chills.
I think that's what it's supposed to do.
Other than that, I thought it was supposed to relax you. So
I don't know. I have no idea. So anyway, Kate's not here. She lost her voice. I mean, it would be great if she just showed up and could not talk. and we kept needling her.
So
But
all our listeners and viewers know, first of all, hi, thank you for tuning in. Second, my suggestion was that Kate got a whiteboard and just would write out her opinions. Somehow she just didn't like that as much. I thought that would have been amazing.
well, she's resting her voice tonight. So there will be no 45-minute diatribes on the state of the women's division.
Disagree.
There won't be 45 minutes.
There is going to be a rant from someone who never rants.
It's not going to be me.
But it's going to be me.
Oh, my God. We'll get there. There's nothing to rant about except how bad it was tonight. But we'll talk about that.
Well, I'm going to, before we get into anything, when we get to Dynamite, I'm making a request that we change one small section of how we do the show for 1 week only. I want all the women's stuff combined in one section so I can just get because I think it matters in this one time because it's so not much, which is part of the problem.
Well, much like the women on Dynamite, once we get into the second hour of this show, you could talk about the women. You can go on your rant.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, talk about it wherever you want, but we'll get there with Dynamite.
I'm just saying, when we're at Dynamite, instead of doing each one, I just want the three together because
there's only one to talk about.
One match and two quote unquote promos.
Quote unquote. Yes. Quote unquote. Anyway, Ryan, before we get there, guess what I got in the mail? Hey, I got a crate.
Is it Blue Chew?
No, I wish it was. It's not.
Oh.
Listen, do I need Blue Chew? No. But can everybody use a little bit of cork in their bat? Why not, right?
Also, it would be helpful if they were sponsoring us, but that's a whole other issue.
I mean, there's 8 people watching us. If all 8 people really started a hard-hitting letter writing campaign, then yeah, maybe we could.
If it was a letter writing, not emails, but physical letters, I bet you it would work.
Yeah, I'm talking old school letter writing. Pen to paper, not even typed out, pen to paper. And then, you literally mail them into Blue Chew HQ. Mrs. Money, Blue Chew crates are not a thing unless I guess you get a whole lot of Blue Chew. It's the only way you get a crate of Blue Chew. Rob Humphrey's asking if this is a toy. It's not a toy tonight, Rob Humphrey. All the toys came last week. This is the All Elite crate. Let me make sure I have the right thing here. All Elite crate, Double or Nothing 2022 crate. So it's a little early for Double or Nothing, but I like a crate. I like getting shirts. So
it would be really funny if they ran into the Double or Nothing gimmick and either you got double the amount of stuff in your crate or you got nothing.
Hey, there is some bonus. There is a bonus item in here. I'll let you know what that bonus item is when we get there. It's a pretty good one. And then one of the stickers they put in the crate, it's actually you get one of 2 variants. So depending on what crate, like Millionaire Matt might have gotten a different sticker than I did. I'd love to see what the second variant looks like. But let's open this baby up. We got it open. All the crates come with 2 shirts this month. Pretty good shirts. And now designs, I think, I don't know. I don't mind the designs. So let's see. Here we go. First shirt.
So I like, first of all, of course, Adam Cole.
Baby.
I like most of it. I'm not a huge fan of the cartoon Adam Cole, but that is really just a me thing. That's not a poorly designed shirt.
It's one of the better designs.
Yeah.
And the crate shirts are all exclusive. So this is the only place I guess you get the t-shirt design. Now the second one is a Hangman Adam Paige t-shirt. No luck, all grit.
I've seen this one. I liked this shirt.
It's a pretty cool one.
Yeah, it would, the funny thing is that would work for him if it came out on the back of his vest.
Yes.
The design, that would work really well on the back of his vest. So that was a good shirt.
Yes, it's a very good shirt. I do like it, and you're right. It would work as a great back patch. So that would be cool. Now, as all the other stuff in here, we got and I'm sorry if Kate's listening, this is not leaving my collection. We got an Eddie Kingston micro brawler.
Partner.
Yeah, Patna. It's got his little stats on the back. 6'1", 244, Yonkers, New York. Let's see, what else do we have in here? We have a DVD. Now, this is the first DVD I think I've gotten from them. It's the Best of Dark, Volume 1. Matches here include the Strong Hearts versus the Young Bucks, Kip Sabian versus Omega, Big Swole and Statlander versus Britt Baker and Riho, Robert Anthony versus Moxley, Kip Sabian versus Janela, just to name a few. So this is clearly older dark stuff that they're putting onto DVD. So that's pretty neat. I don't really watch DVDs, but it's okay.
No one does.
Could be good for a giveaway for us, though, at some point.
Yeah, it's good for people like them for collections to say you have them.
For sure. There's a poster. They always do a poster. This is the Elite versus Inner Circle Stadium Stampede.
That's not a bad poster at all.
No, it's pretty cool. It's like one of those old school, like almost like a boxing promoter poster. So it's pretty cool. It's neat. What else do we have in here? Double or Nothing poker chip lapel pin. That's pretty cool.
Oh, neat. I don't think I've ever seen a poker chip lapel pin.
Yeah, they do. I didn't know either. I guess all the crate pins, I think, or maybe, I don't want to say that. I think the crate pins are exclusives too. Here's one of the stickers. This is one variant of two. It's a Thunder Rosa sticker.
Oh, I like that sticker.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'd love to see what the other one looks like. I'm sure I could just Google it, but I'm too lazy.
Yeah.
Schlong, this is pretty cool too. I really like these. This is playing cards. These are Dark Order playing cards. There's a bit of a glare here, so I don't know if you can see, but
it's coming across. Those are nice. I like those.
These are pretty awesome. I haven't opened them yet, but pretty awesome. Now, Schlong, there's always All Elite Crate autographs in here. A couple 8x10 autographs. So we've got a Preston Vance 8x10.
Ooh.
Pretty nice.
Big muscly man.
Yeah. And Ryan, there's a bonus item in this crate. There's a bonus item, and it is an 8x10 autograph. Any guess? You want to take a guess? It's huge. It's a pretty big one. I was super surprised they actually.
John Moxley.
No, you're close.
Bryan Danielson.
Oh, you're close. You're really close. I'll give you one last shot.
Kenny Omega.
Oh, so close, Ryan. It's QT Marshall.
So bigger than those guys.
That's why I said you're close, but you just weren't here. QT
I
Marshall.
didn't think they would go that high.
This is huge. Huge. And it's official. See, it's got the little seal on it. Yeah, this was our bonus item for the month, the QT Marshall autograph, 8x10. I'm going to put that one in a frame. That one actually, Ryan, might go into a safety deposit box. I have to get one, and then it will go in there because this is going to be worth millions.
That's the only thing you put in there.
Nothing else. Forget the Sheeta one I have or Riho, whichever one they sent in one of the crates. That won't go in the deposit box. It will certainly be the QT Marshall. And that was the crate this month. It was a pretty good crate. Listen,
not a bad crate at all.
The shirts were good. I really like the playing cards. Those look cool. And Eddie Kingston Micro Brawler is great because I'll just keep showing that to Kate, and I will not give it to her.
Excellent. That is the way it should work.
That's how it's got to be done. I saw Rob Humphrey saying Micro Brawlers look cool, but I feel like they charge too much for them. Yeah, Rob Humphrey, I don't collect those specifically because of that reason. The figures alone are over, $20 maybe, right? I don't know. They're like 20 or $22. There's no way I can justify spending $20 on a micro brawler, but if it comes in the crate, that's pretty awesome. An Eddie Kingston micro brawler. I love it. So yeah, fun crate this month. Good shirts. An Adam Cole and an Hangman. I like saying Hangman now.
Is a Hangman Adam Page?
Yeah, on a Wednesday, I'm wearing my Hangman Adam Page shirt. See what I did?
Wednesday, Thursday.
Wednesday Adams. So yeah, Ryan, this was the fun stuff I got in the mail this week. No toys.
I got nothing in the mail.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of if I've ordered anything lately wrestling related. I haven't. So that's the only thing right now that I foresee coming in the mail. So hopefully Millionaire Matt got his. But yeah, so figured I'd show off the crate. And then we'll get one next quarter too. So and the cycle repeats.
I wonder who the autograph. I hope it's just always QT Marshall as the extra. That would, like different poses of him though, like not the same picture, different pictures. Just always QT Marshall as an extra.
Yeah, him one from the time he was with the bunny, and she was just milking him out of his money. Yeah,
I forgot about that story.
What a great storyline. Anyway, Ryan, why don't we actually talk a little bit about the product? Did you watch Friday Night Rampage?
Boy, did I, but I'm gonna be honest. I only really remember one match.
Let me guess. It was Bryan Danielson and Trent Beretta.
On a normal Friday, 100%.
Okay. Well, it led off with Danielson versus Trent. Danielson wound up defeating Trent. Banger match. Definitely, Brent. Trent can wrestle. Danielson can wrestle. What a great match. Were you talking about Hook? Because Hook was very memorable on Friday night, Schlong.
What did Hook do on Friday night?
Well, he was backstage for an interview, eating chips and saying nothing.
I remember Danhausen.
That's right. Danhausen pops out of the garbage to curse him. It doesn't work. And then Hook throws out his chips, but Danhausen picks them up and starts to eat them while he's trying to figure out why he can't curse Hook. Fantastic.
I respect it.
Total respect. There was a Lambert, Scorpio Sky, Ethan Page thing. I'm just tired of talking about it. We had Swerve and my man QT Marshall. Was that the match you remember?
Again, I would feel like on a normal Friday, I'd have a lot to talk about with that match because it was actually a good match. I don't think enough people give QT Marshall enough credit for how good he is. And we know that Swerve is just really next level. But no, it's not the match that's sticking in my brain. No.
Still not there. All right. So we'll keep going. But yes, Swerve wound up unfortunately defeating QT Marshall. Man, can you pick up that airplane over my head?
No, I don't hear it at all.
Oh, really? That's all I hear. It's so hot in this office. I have the window open. Anyway, there was Ricky Starks also jumped up to kind of throw it out to Swerve that he wants a match on Dynamite. So that's how we got to tonight, by the way. We got a Marina Shafir video. We'll talk about that. Is it Ryan, the match that we were all super excited about last week? Was it Red Velvet and Willow for the Owen Cup?
I'm gonna be honest. I did think about that one. So that one did stick in my head. It's not the one I was thinking, but that one was very good because it was amazing how over Willow was with that crowd.
I'm telling you, man, I feel like Willow's over with every crowd she gets in front of. I truly do. And that's not just because I'm a mark for Willow. I just think that she connects with a lot of the crowd she gets put in front of. And she can actually wrestle. So that does help too.
Yeah, like and she's just very, you can tell she's authentic in the way she like celebrates and does things, and I think that comes across though. And I enjoyed the match. It had some sloppy moments, but I don't, nothing that was gonna just make it a bad match to me. I like Red Velvet. I think she has a nice, high I don't say high impact, but high intensity style where she's running around. She kind of reminds me. She's like to me in a lot of ways, and the female Darby Allin, not character wise, but style. It just throws her body everywhere. So I really enjoyed the match. I know some people were saying they almost should have thrown an audible and had Willow win because of how over she was, but you just can't do that. That match, Red's who you have signed, And if nothing else, it gives you a reason to bring Willow back.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, listen, even in the chat, Aaron is saying Willow is over with life. Yes, agreed. Rob Humphrey, Willow is just delightful. Also agreed. Yeah, I'm with you, Ryan. I don't think you call the audible here. It's funny. It's sort of like with the match she had at Final Battle of the Battlist, Final Battle of all battles to be battled. I thought that maybe she'd go over Roxy because the crowd was just so behind her. Didn't happen, but you know, we'll see what's going to go on with Willow. I have a feeling that she'll be used in some capacity, whether with AEW or Ring of Honor. It would be surprising if they didn't bring her into work in some capacity. But Red Velvet defeated Willow Nightingale, in case you couldn't tell from our conversation. There was a big Ryan. This has to be what you were talking about. Tony Nese backstage, signing essentially with Smart Mark Sterling as representation. Is that what you remember? The only thing you remember from this episode? Because in my house, that's the only thing that's remembered.
But Tony Nese had a shirt on. Why is your wife even
doesn't matter
paying attention? But no,
doesn't
actually, like that move, Tony Nese has done nothing but been a good match guy in AEW. Like bringing someone new, have him have a match against Tony Nese. Tony Nese loses, so it'd be nice to team him up with someone, you know, to give him a little bit of personality and more to his story. So I like that move.
I will tell you this, Ryan. This is a total shoot. Mrs. Money was sleeping on the couch. I was awake watching Rampage. She was very tired. Nese came on my screen, and this was exactly how it happened. I said, "Hey G," and no response. "Hey G," no response. I said, "Tony Nese is on TV," and her eyes popped open. That's exactly how it happened. No joke. That's exactly how this interaction went.
What you should have done is just turned up the TV so that when Tony Nese spoke, she could just like sit up straight. Like,
well, her eyes popped open. As soon as I said Tony, she knew exactly what was going on. Yeah, I'm with you, Ryan. I like the fact that they're kind of pairing them up together. I think Smart Mark Sterling's worked well with Jade. I don't think they need to follow the same formula as they have with Jade, but he could be a good mouthpiece for Nese. So I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
So Ryan, you can't remember. You can't be talking about the main event. Nothing happened in the main event. That was Yuta versus Jon Moxley.
I mean, it was the outcome we expected with, with Yuta losing and Moxley winning. So no, that was kind of boring. Not at all a great match that told a story that was amazing and shows that you can get someone over immensely, not even if they don't have to win. I mean, Christ, that match was a banger. I heard all week, you got to watch the Yuta Mox match. And I'm like, okay, I assumed it was going to be good, but I didn't think it could live up to the hype. It's one of those things, you hype it up too much, it's going to fall apart.
Right.
Nope, it lived up to it. I mean, Yuta bled like fucking stuck pig. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I'm not always a big blood fan. Like, I know AEW uses a lot. I think sometimes they use it way too much. But that's just a personal thing. However, when it's used in the right context, like a guy just refusing to lose, it's amazing. Because taking two paradigm shifts, one straight up,
yep,
and still just not going down. Then being that moment where Regal and them are squaring off against him, and the crowd is chanting, "Shake his hand," shit, and he does it, and you're like, "Fuck yes!" And then to even write BCC in your own blood on your chest, like, yeah. Fuck, that was metal as fuck. No, that is, if you want to know how to make a star, that is a perfect example.
This whole build on Yuta was done perfectly, in my opinion. The idea he had of kind of going to shake the hand, getting slapped in the face, not letting it go, continuing to want to have these fights. You put him in this match. Now, do I think they wanted him to bleed in this match? Of course. Do I think they wanted him to bleed that much in this match? No, but It sure as shit made him a star. And Yuta, I think, was over before, but now I think he's even more over because of this match. I mean, he just looked great. Everything that he was doing with Moxley, he hung in there, you know, move for move, and it was just fantastic. You're right too. The end, as he's kind of like kneeling there, bleeding, waiting for them just to destroy him, saying, "Come on, do it," you know, almost like not the Terminator, the Predator, kill me, do me now. You know, he's kneeling there. All of a sudden, they shake his hand and they tell him now the real work begins. And now we'll talk about what they're lining up. But what a match! It had everything you could ask for in a standard match. I mean, fantastic. Um, what a great show! And apparently, Ryan, it helped. It was good numbers for them this week. Um, let's see. Sorry, I lost my place here. Rampage hit 600K viewers for the first time since January. It was 0.25 in the 18 to 49 demo, best since October of last year. It was a 32% boost in the overall audience, 0.67% ratings bump over the prior week. It was the finished fourth on cable behind Masters programming. So it did pretty good. And you know, a lot of people, apparently more people than usual, saw Yuta, so that's always good. But man, what a great match. And the funny thing, Ryan, is the reason I kind of wanted to talk about it just at least a little bit tonight is I feel like I've had a lot of conversation lately about Rampage not standing out on its own. And I get it. The look and the feel of the show is pretty much Dynamite, right? They changed the ramp color, and they changed the ring, you know, the ring mat and the skirts, but it's pretty much the same show, sort of like a B show. But man, this episode kind of showed you this isn't anything you should be missing. Like, you should be tuning into this or DVRing this and watching it later.
That's one thing I always want to know. I don't know if the ratings when they come out, because they come out, what is it, like Tuesday, Monday or Tuesday is when they get like the real ratings. I don't know if they incorporate DVR numbers, because I feel like Rampage's DVR numbers have to be pretty good, because they always, I mean, not always like this level of great match, but they always have at least one match where you're like, holy shit, that was really good. So I have to think people do go back and watch it on DVR, and so I would love to know those numbers. But they're going forward. They're going to, they're going to try to at least continue to put up at least one match where people are like, oh, I have to see what this is.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I just don't know enough about the ratings to know if it includes DVR numbers. And I don't know how the DVR numbers actually play into the ratings. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if it's almost like, with music, right? Like X amount of streams equals a play or something like that, like a radio spin. I don't know if there's something like that with cable, to be honest, where it's like a certain number of DVRs would count as, something, so
Yeah.
I'm just not that versed in it. But either way, it had a stronger showing over the week before. And what a solid card. Just a really solid card for this week. It started out with Danielson and Trent. Awesome. Had a solid middle couple matches. And then, to end it with Yuta and Moxley and keep this story moving. Fantastic. Just a fantastic show on a Friday night. What more could you ask for?
100%. Can't argue with you at all.
So, Schlong, we definitely want to talk about Dynamite and everything else AEW coming up, because it's championship week, apparently. I didn't realize they were dubbing it championship week, but there's a lot going on, and I think we need to just make sure we step back and kind of reset ourselves. We've been going for only a half hour now, but we want to take a break. And Schlong, I have a question for you. In the absence of Kate, are you aware that we're part of a specific network?
Do I do the Kate bit or not? No. What do you mean a specific network?
There we go, Schlong. You read my eyes. The Mark Order podcast is part of the Shining Wizards Network. It was started by the Shining Wizards, who, some say are the B show of the network compared to the Mark Order podcast, the A show. But the Shining Wizards have been doing podcasting for over 10 years now. They have a wrestling podcast, which is wrestling talk and talk about wrestling. Sorry.
Beat me to it. I was going to say, I actually knew that one.
So we are lucky enough to be part of that network and know all those guys. But Schlong, do you know that there's more than just our two shows as part of that network?
I did not. There is?
There are some shows that are part of this network. Some we like and some we maybe question, but you be the judge. Everybody hang tight. We're going to be back in a minute. For now, listen to some words from the other shows that are part of the Shining Wizards Network.
Everyone knows a lot of things can change in the span of 10 years. But when it comes to professional wrestling podcasting, one thing is still guaranteed. The Shining Wizards is the only place to get all the latest wrestling news, interviews with the greatest guests, and of course, tons of laughs in discussing the world of wrestling. The show is still available on Monday nights at 7 p.m. East on rantemradio.com and Rant Entertainment Media on the TuneIn app. And it's still available on all podcasting platforms. To check us out, head over to shiningwizards.com, where it's still wrestling talk and talk about wrestling.
Because of the obvious threat to untold numbers of citizens, and because of the crisis which is even now developing, this radio station will remain on the air day and night. This station and hundreds of other radio and TV stations throughout this part of the country are pooling their resources through an emergency network hookup to keep you informed of all developments.
Horns up, everyone. One on the Shining Wizards Network. Be sure every Friday to check out Radioactive Metal. Radioactive Metal is one of the longest running podcasts on the interweb. And every week we bring you a fist full of metal, including interviews with all your favorite artists, discuss all the metal news, and feature the best tunes on the air today. So grab a Lemmy, join your cool Uncle Snowy and co-host Aaron in the pit.
Your recognized symbol of excellence in sports entertainment broadcasting from the current to the way back. Join the Impact player Phil Rea and the Portuguese man of war Choppy for the Turnbuckle Throwbacks Wrestling Podcast. Live every week on rantemradio.com. Get all our episodes over at iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, Audio Boom, Google Play, ShiningWizardsNetwork.com, and TurnbuckleThrowbacks.com.
Are you tired of being told what to think and believe by Hollywood elites and politicians who just don't care about you?
Tired of not getting the truth when you watch the news?
Tired of trying to figure out what pronoun to use?
Tired of mob mentality when all you want to do is think for yourself and make up your own mind?
That's where we come in. This is Justin.
And Vince.
Your host of Inconclusive Breakdown.
We are a weekly anti-PC podcast bringing you entertainment and current event news without any spin.
If you want to truly stay informed on what's going on in the world, then give us a listen every Sunday, anywhere you get podcasts, at least till Zuckerberg and Twitter Jack deplatform us.
And as always, we're proud members of the Shining Wizards Network.
Tired of the PC police telling you what you can and cannot say? Want a show that travels back to the 80s and 90s, where the badass hosts have beaten down cancel culture on 3 separate occasions and carried on to gloat about it? Since 2013, The Midnight Jury is that show. Travel back to the malls and arcades, pop in your VHS, and join us where the 80s and 90s return from the dead. Conan, tell them where to find us.
WLWstudios.com, home of the Midnight Jury podcast, hosted by Midnight Mike and Calvin Brody.
Also available on all major podcast platforms via the Shining Wizards Network, and join in the conversation on Twitter at Midnight Jury.
What's What's up, wrestling fans? You want something awesome? Check out Wrestling Night in Canada here on the Shining Wizards Network. We're 3 Canadian metalheads uniting for the love of pro wrestling. Every episode we go over all the latest news and special events with the odd unique interview as well. So grab a cold one and check out Wrestling Night in Canada, eh?
All right, we're back here on the Mark Order podcast. Schlong, before we get on with things, I just saw this. Well, I saw it before, but it didn't fit into our discussion. KTG from the Shining Wizards in the chat saying, no sleeves AntMoney going for the Pat McAfee look. I got news for you, KTG. Pat McAfee's going for the AntMoney look. I've been rocking the no sleeves since day one. This goddamn office is so hot. I can't. Just can't. It's so hot. I don't have the air on in my house yet, so it's very hot in this office. Schlong, I do want to remind people before we get going on how they can get some stickers. You know how people can get stickers, Schlong?
No, tell me.
People can get stickers by going to our social pages at Mark Order Pod, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, wherever. There's a little link tree in our bio. Click on that link. There is a section for requesting free stickers. That's right, Schlong. I see you're confused that I'm saying free stickers. Yeah, totally free.
Well, Kate tells me you make them pay for shipping.
No, Kate's full of shit, and you know it, and I know it. Kate's full of shit. Nobody has to pay for shipping. Kate's spreading fake news. I think Kate needs to listen to another podcast on the network about woke culture and PC police doing something else.
No. We're not. No, she doesn't. No.
Anyway, go to our link tree, hit the request for free stickers. And all you got to do is give us your name, your mailing address, and list what country you're from, because I'll send them anywhere in the world. And we'll send out some of these cool Mark Order podcast stickers free for you to use, maybe give out some of your friends, whatever you like to do. We don't promote vandalizing, but, if you want to stick it somewhere where people could see it, feel free to do that.
What do you think of this idea? Rob Humphrey saying just show up at your house and ask for him.
Rob Humphrey, I'm not going to co-sign that one, but I'll send him anywhere in the world. So if you're in Madagascar, I'll mail him to Madagascar. All you got to do is tell me where to send him. You send your address, I'm going to take care of the rest. Don't you worry about it, pal.
It kind of rhymed. I liked it. That'll flow to
it. There you go. Schlong, real quick, let's touch on the rankings. Because, we got to keep with tradition. We're going to go backwards, though. We're going backwards.
Okay.
In the tag division.
So in the number 5 spot. Oh, sorry.
You want to go ahead, Schlong? You want to do it? Go ahead. Right. You can do it.
We're doing tag rankings. In the number 5 spot, you have the Acclaimed. In the number 4, you have the Gun Club. Number 3, you have Dark Order. Number 2, you have Top Flight. And in the number 1 contender slot, you have FTR. And your champions are, I guess, no longer Jurassic Express. They're Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess the glue that held them together is no longer there, right? So
was the Express part Marco stunt?
Probably. He's short and quick. By the way, Schlong, Tony Z's up in the chat as well. Surprising, because this is well past his early bird special bedtime. He's saying, please rap. You want to rap? You rapping tonight?
Well, we already did these. We'll see what the next one's hold.
Yeah, I mean, listen, do we expect FTR not to be in the number 1 slot? They're two, they hold 2 belts already. Why not just give them a third? Let's do it.
Belt collecting FTR, I'm all for it.
Let's get crazy. Let's go to the women's division, Schlong.
Yo, listen. What? You got Marina Shafir at number 4. She's not what I would. I'm not doing it. I'm cutting it off because I was going with a rhyme I didn't like.
My goodness.
I was going to rhyme something. Not a fan of it. You got Shafir 5. You got, because I also called her 4, and she's clearly 5. You got Jamie Hayter at 4. You got Anna Jay at 3. You got Serena Deeb at 2. And Nyla Rose is holding true at number 1. Your TBS champion is Jade Cargill. And your women's champion, I guess women's AEW champion is Thunder Rosa.
That is correct. Thunder Rosa. And how about the men, Schlong?
We have, I've never heard of this guy, CM Punk at number 5.
Yeah, CM
Penta.
is short for Chicago Mid.
So you got Chicago Mid at 5. Penta Oscuro at number 4. Frankie, Jesus Christ, this one actually stopped me. Frankie Kazarian at number 3.
Yeah.
Sammy Guevara at number 2. And Adam Cole, baby, at number 1. With Scorpio Sky as your TNT champ and Hangman Adam Page as your men's heavyweight champion. What the fuck is Frankie Kazarian doing at number 3?
My only guess is he's been winning on Dark, right?
He has, but even still, my God.
Well, and this is a nice segue into Dynamite because it kicks off with a match between number 5 and number 4. My only guess is now we're going, CM Punk will maybe work his way up the rankings, right? So Kazarian would be the next person to go against, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to go against. Christ, the Hollies just are really screwing up my camera stuff here. He would not be going against Sammy because Sammy's in his own storyline,
right?
So yeah, and he's not going against Adam Cole, baby, at least not anytime soon. So yeah, that makes sense. Kazarian would be next, at least as a match.
Yeah, I mean, well, let's talk about let's get into Dynamite and we can kind of talk about how things might shake out. So Schlong, Dynamite opened tonight with a match that I didn't know I wanted or needed, but I enjoyed it. CM Punk versus Penta Oscuro. We do get to the end of this match and CM Punk winds up winning. I don't think anybody thought that Penta was going to win, but boy, what a match this turned out to be. I can also tell you this, Schlong, Penta Oscuro now also a favorite in this house, as Mini Money really enjoyed Penta. As he was going to bed, he saw him. He goes, "That guy's got a shovel. He's my favorite." So he really enjoyed Penta Oscuro. Schlong, what did you think about this match?
So Penta coming up behind the gravestone is just great. I love that. And Alex Abrahantes as a spooky priest or whatever, evil demon priest is great. Really good match. There was no story, and I says there's no story going into it besides just two guys who are ranked, and that's a fine story. I have no problem with it. But they told a nice story in the match. It was, CM Punk just seemed to be a little bit ahead of Penta in terms of knowing what to do next. I don't know what they're doing with Penta, to be completely honest, because even Rob Humphrey says it. He hasn't been winning too much since he went Dark Penta. So I don't know what their plan is here. I'd like to see him. He's so over. The crowd loves him. He's so good that I would like to see him get some more wins. But I knew he wasn't beating Punk. Punk's clearly on the trajectory to challenge for a title. I don't know which one he's going for. But it was just such a good match. And it shows you sometimes like someone like Penta who doesn't get singles pushed could at any time really get one and people would be all for it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in agreement with what you and, Rob Humphrey said. Like, Penta Oscuro has not been really successful on his own. I don't remember, to be honest, the reasoning for them turning him, but I have a feeling.
Black.
Right. But what I'm saying is I have a feeling they did it based on a run that him and Phoenix were going to have. But Phoenix is hurt, right? So they're just kind of continuing to run with this because they, were making the flip. They were jumping his character. So now you can't really walk it back, right? He's just gonna, be that character. Listen, he hell of a match. 2 counters on a GTS before CM Punk finally hit it, right? So what a fun match. I'm gonna be the one to do it, Ryan, and I think I've said it with Millionaire Matt on the show too at one point when all 4 of us were here. I do not like this Abrahantes evil priest thing. I feel like it's too over the top.
I'm sorry, I can't agree with you there.
just
I'm all
don't
for
get
it. It just it gets me in the right way. I don't mind over the top stuff if it's done the right way, and I feel like this is. It's not tongue in cheek, which makes it funny to me. Like he goes all in with it, and that's where I get the humor. Like I think if he tried to make it funny, I'd hate it. So that's why it works. But I mean, I get it. It's not going to be for everyone. It's very much a unique character.
It's just weird because there's no reason for him to have turned. You know what I mean? Besides, like, oh, Penta turned, so I'm just gonna turn. You know what I mean? Like, it would just seemed weird to me. But
Yeah.
either way, what a fun match. And this is, like I said, Schlong, this is now looking at the rankings to me. To me, it seems like okay, and they even talked about it in the match. Commentary was saying this could have ranking implications, depending on who wins. Um, so Punk wins this match. I'm thinking he's going to move up one step in the rankings. The next natural guy for him to face would be Kazarian. And I didn't think I needed Kazarian and Punk, but if they're going to give it to me, especially after seeing, Penta and Punk, I'm all for it.
Well, as someone who does watch Dark and Elevation regularly, so that's the only place you get to see Kazarian anymore. He still wrestles at a very high level, so that's going to be a really good match.
Yeah, Frankie can still go. I just think they don't have anything really for him for main TV right now because he was the elite killer or the elite hunter at one point. You know, the elite's not really a thing. So maybe they just don't really have anything for him. But listen, I'll take Punk and Frankie all day. So we'll see what happens there. Shalong, we go to footage from earlier in the day where the Jericho Appreciation Society was landing on their plane and cutting a promo. And Chris Jericho says that's how sports entertainers, travel. But he gets cut off by Eddie Kingston, Ortiz, and Santana, who are in a car, reminding them that it's on site. And tonight they're going to get theirs. And they drive off and they show that 2.0 is there, getting all beat up. It looked like some shoes were stolen and thumbs were broken. My favorite part was the shoes being taken. It just reminds me of the other guys every time have you seen the other guys with Will Ferrell?
Oh my God. Now I'm just thinking of the beginning of the movie with The Rock and Samuel L. Jackson. Aim for the bushes. Aim for the bushes. You know it. And we don't know what made them jump. Yeah, every time why do they keep stealing our shoes?
Yeah, it just made me think of that. And the thumbs being broken was also funny. So clearly, Schlong, they were just getting to the match tonight, and again playing up this whole sports entertainment and sports entertainers thing. Just fantastic. I just love this whole angle so much.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. Now I want to make something clear. I loved this section. That doesn't mean later on I'm not going to have issues that it existed, because I'm going to talk about that in a later rant.
Sure.
But the actual moment of itself cracked me up. Stealing the shoes and all was great.
Oh yeah, 100%. We go to our AEW World Tag Team Championship match of the evening. We had Jurassic Express, Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. We don't know if they're going by Jurassic Express anymore, versus Redragon, Bobby Fish, and Kyle O'Reilly. I think I said it here, Slong, but I'm going to just say it again. Kyle O'Reilly, to me, something about him reminds me of Danger Aaron from Jackass. Every time I see him,
you have said
Danger
that.
Aaron.
I don't see it, but I'd love that you do, because
every time
that would crack me up if I saw that, like in a wrestler.
It just, I don't know, something about him. Anyway. What a match. Jurassic Express winds up winning by pinfall with the back suplex powerbomb combo on Bobby Fish to retain the World Tag Team Championships. Post-match, Kyle O'Reilly attacks Jurassic Express with a chair. Him and Bobby Fish kind of roll out of the ring, flip it off the crowd and stuff. And that's when FTR comes out with their Ring of Honor and AAA titles, basically looking like they're issuing a challenge, and then Red Dragon start to pick a fight. So the interesting here for me, Schlong, and I want your thoughts on the match because I thought this was a fantastic match, but the post match, it seemed like FTR was sort of like putting their flag in the sand, right? Like saying like we want a shot at the titles. It also seemed like they were talking directly to Red Dragon and basically being like, you want a shot at this. So like I'm not sure which way they were trying to go, but either way they went. Like if it was like we want a shot at the tag titles, perfect. I want to see it. But if it was also like, hey, Red Dragon, you want to try to win these belts since you couldn't win those belts, like I'm also good with that. I don't know how they were trying to play off that moment, but Schlong, you can get there. Why don't you tell me how you thought this match went?
So the match was fantastic. I mean, you're talking two great teams. Redragon's awesome. I'm going to call them Jurassic Express is awesome. Really good chemistry for, for teams that haven't wrestled that many times over the years. I really enjoyed the match. The ending, ended up pulling off the move. It almost looked for like a second they wouldn't, so I got real nervous for about a half second there. The story after is what, I never expected Redragon to win. I know some people did. They thought, well, you give them the title, and then you have their issue with the Elite, and you can have FTR have an issue with them. There is a story there. I just don't see Redragon as a team that takes the title off Jurassic Express. I could be wrong, but I just don't see them. I mean, I could see them having the titles eventually, just not off of Jurassic Express. Afterwards was very interesting for the reasons you said. It came out like they were going to plant their flag down, saying we're going for the titles, but then Redragon's in the way, and it almost feels like that's how they're going to get away from not having FTR challenge right now. Get them in a story away from it, which kind of makes sense because otherwise you have to give them the belts or at least let them challenge for it. But there is also a very natural story of Redragon wanting to fight FTR for the ROH belts. A lot of history there. So it's a very interesting way to tell to tell multiple stories, and I love that. I love that you can easily still tell FTR versus Jurassic Express. You could tell FTR versus Redragon. You're still telling Redragon versus the Elite, and you have Jurassic Express versus whoever wants to challenge them for the belts. By having the belts, they're all automatically in whatever feud. So I'm very excited that they're letting FTR kind of go back into mainstream AEW feuds again. I'm just curious if this is how they keep them away from Jurassic Express for a little while, which is like they're not ready for them to win the belts in AEW, so you got to have them have their side feuds.
Yeah, no, I mean, there are so many ways they could go, kind of keeping their hands off Jurassic Express. I'll say this. I saw this in the chat. I love Rob Humphrey, but I just don't disagree with this. Jurassic Express is boring. They need to put the belts on someone else. I disagree. I think that Jurassic Express is really entertaining to watch. And I thought this was a fantastic match tonight. Do I think that at some point they do need to shift those belts? Of course, because I think there are other teams who should have those belts put on them.
Powerful. I'm sorry. What?
No, Schlong, I said it last week. I agree with that. I think that those belts need to go on Proud and Powerful at some point this year. I'll say even that. At some point in 2022, those belts need to go onto Proud and Powerful. But I think that while maybe the title reign for Jurassic Express started off a little slow and with challengers who maybe didn't deserve title shots, they've really turned it up. And have had some really high quality matches. I think they're a lot of fun to watch, and the combination of moves they can do for somebody who's so big compared to Jungle Man with Luchasaurus, I think they are really fun working together.
So I agree 100% on board with everything you just said. Now I'm going to give Rob credit this. He says the belts just don't feel important right now. I will agree to a point that because of what FTR was doing with the Bucks and all, and the Bucks and the Elite storyline and Adam Cole storyline and all, it seemed like the belts were taking a back seat. However, it's also a very good way to make a team like Jurassic Express seem to be at their level when they're even not involved in those stories. Because they're not involved in a story with FTR, but they have the belts. So you don't, when you have natural stories with FTR and the Bucks, or Red Dragon and the Bucks, or Red Dragon FTR, you don't necessarily want the belts always involved, because then you're limiting how many stories you can tell. You have you have your belt story over here, and then you have your side story over here. So while I agree, the belts do seem secondary, that's going to happen from time to time when other feuds are taking place. But it doesn't mean those teams aren't good or they're not as important. It's just you want to have two feuds. So if you only have the belts on certain teams, you only have one feud, and that's even worse.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that we're maybe sort of in process with is also thinning out this tag division, right? So I think that there was a lot of noise in that division over the pandemic. There were a lot of tag teams that were just thrown together, and they kind of held them together for a while. I think they're starting to thin things out there. I think eventually when Ring of Honor gets figured out, we're going to have some of these teams, primarily within Ring of Honor. So I don't think we'll have a problem of there being so many people and so many stories in the tag division that it seems like these belts are secondary. But I don't disagree that they don't feel important. It's weird. It seems like that's the recent problem that AEW sort of has with all of their titles. If you have, in my opinion, right? At times the world championship doesn't seem as important or invested in a heavy storyline compared to some of these other things that are going on, that there are no belts at stake. And it's something we've talked about with the women's division too, right? You have your champ, and your champ's not really involved in anything, but you have all these other stories that are going on. So it's just funny how it seems like that's their shortfall at the moment, is trying to figure out how to make these belts seem important across all divisions.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the downside of what I just described, where you use the belts to have their own stories.
Right.
They're using it as a crutch, where they're not building the important stories, because the belts have just a natural story of I want the belt. And that is a crutch, and they got to get away from that, where it's wanting the belt is the biggest story because that's what everyone wants, but build something else into that. Hangman going against Omega had such a nice story. There was the story of could he do it, the friendship falling apart, things like that. Right now, Hangman and Cole actually has a pretty decent story, but at first he had no stories. I mean, he kind of lucked into his Danielson one. I don't want, obviously they planned it, but I don't, and then she made me sorry, I'll put it up in a second. It actually did stop me dead. But his story against Archer, there was no story there. They really do struggle with that. So they need to do a better job of like you said, giving those titles real stories, because they're using the story of I want the title as a crutch.
Right. Yeah.
So there is that downside. What stopped me dead in talking, I got to give Kate credit, is sorry I'm late. The PC police got me. She listened to our commercial. She knows.
That's what's going to happen when you're driving with one headlight out, Kate. PC police will get you. Anyway, let's move on. Schlong, they recap Wheeler Yuta's turn at on Friday Night Rampage and being welcomed into the Blackpool Combat Club, and they get interviewed backstage. William Regal says that he's happy to be surrounded with three gentlemen like the ones in the Blackpool Combat Club, and Danielson says they're fired up to fight with Wheeler Yuta for the first time against the Gun Club. I'm sorry, I got to get Danhausen paid. The Ass Boys. And Moxley calls the Ass Boys goofs and says they're going to break their faces open. Wheeler says the real work begins on Friday night. So we're lining up for a Friday night trios match on Rampage. That will be the Ass Boys versus the newly formed Blackpool Combat Club with Wheeler Yuta. So that should be a lot of fun. We'll see how the three work together for the first time.
I'm gonna be honest. I know a lot. Real quick, I know a lot of people don't
Yep.
like the Ass Boys, and I know I feel a little differently because I watched a lot of Dark and Elevation where they got over. This actually makes a lot of sense for them to be the BCC's first challenger, only because you could not find a team more different than the
Right.
Blackpool Combat Club. Like the Ass, like that's the only reason it makes sense. Is like if the Blackpool Combat Club's sole mission is to be like, no, we're going to go in, we want to get rid of all these people we don't think are worthy to be here, then the Ass Boys would be number one on that list. So there's actual real logic there as to why they'd be the first team.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with this being the first kind of trios match for them. I'm with you. There's no more perfect team, and Moxley kind of said it. These guys are goofs. You know, that's not what real wrestling's about. We're what real wrestling's about. So it makes total sense to make that the first shot, and I look forward to that. When we go back to the show after a commercial, Shivani is interviewing Jamie Hayter and Tony Storm backstage about their first round match in the Owen Hart Foundation tournament, and Hayter's talking up her similarities with Tony Storm before saying she's not going to just win, but she's going to break her face. And Tony Storm leaves without saying a word.
I'm not talking about this yet until we do all
That's
of them.
fine. Totally
Real
fine.
quick, hold on. I've told her I would do this, so.
Oh, come on.
Fuck the Ass Boys. Sorry, Raid has to make appearances.
I mean, it's just terrible. I don't ever want to see Raid again.
Well, sorry. It could happen.
Oh my God. Schlong, we go to MJF versus Captain Sean Dean. This is the redemption match for MJF, who has one loss against the Captain. Gonna say it, Schlong. Not a fan of what they did with Sean Dean tonight, with his new look and face paint. Maybe he was doing that on Dark, but this is the first time I saw it, and I don't love it.
I mean, it plays into his gimmick, you know, the captain and his team with Carly Bravo is the infantry. So like there's that whole military thing. I'm with you. Wasn't my favorite look. It kind of looked a little too comical for me.
Yeah, that's it for me. Like I get it's a tie-in to his background, but I just thought it was
It came off too comical.
Yeah. It looked like he just stepped out of the Predator, you know, like when they're gearing up, you know, to raid the camp. Yeah, it was just, to me, it was a little corny. Anyway, MJF comes down with Sean Spears by his side. They pretend, my favorite thing was they pretended he couldn't get his jacket open, and then he gets the jump on Sean Dean. And as we're going through this match, MJF is really confident, but they show backstage and security has been overtaken. We can only assume it's Wardlow, but he's nowhere to be found. And surprisingly, one security staff member is missing a shirt. So made you wonder what's going on. MJF back in the ring is still taking care of business. He's getting cocky. He's on the outside of the ring, posing, and fans are booing. And all of a sudden, the security guard, who looks an awful lot like Wardlow, rolls up. And what do you know, Schlong? Takes off his mask and his hat, and it's Wardlow. Wardlow jumps the rail. MJF hightails it and takes off up the ramp. Security just coming by what seemed to be the hundreds are getting destroyed by Wardlow. And then eventually he is held down by 20 or 50 security guards. And MJF can't get back to the ring. Bryce Remsburg is counting. He gets to 9. And then MJF cuts him off and says, I will triple whatever TK is paying you if you stop the count. But Bryce does not give in. He finishes the count, and the captain, Sean Dean, wins by count out. And MJF is furious, returns to the ring, shoves Remsburg, who shoves him back. Spears gets between them and essentially saves MJF from possibly doing something he'll regret and getting fined a lot of money for putting his hands on an official. Schlong, Sean Dean 2 wins over MJF, 1 win over Shawn Spears, the captain with quite a record. What did you think about this whole thing, Schlong?
I love this story. Again, first count out victory in AEW, which is why I don't mind stuff like this, because they don't do this. Like, and it makes it so much better that it's happening to MJF, not because of MJF. Like, it just feels so much better. And Sean Dean is the perfect guy to do this for, because he does, he doesn't need he's got the job in the back no matter what. Like, it feels good. Like, you're not ruining anyone by doing this, and he kind of deserves a little bit of some recognition for all of his stuff there. The Wardlow coming out, I'm like, I love wrestling stuff like this where it's like, who the fuck else would that be? Like,
right?
It's such a wrestling trope that I can't get mad at it. And I just, that moment where he's like, please, I'll triple it. And the crowd is just saying 10, 10. It was so stupid in the best way possible. Like, there's stupidity works when the crowd wants it. And that was so dumb to have literally like 20 security guards holding back Wardlow and MJF unable to get to the ring because of it. And I loved it so much. It was, and to have Bryce for even like a second consider it, but hear the crowd like, and he, no, 10. Perfect. Yeah. Oh, I was smiling the whole time.
It was so much fun. It was very like 80s wrestling to me, but it worked. As soon as I saw the guy there with no shirt, I said to Mrs. Money, well, clearly Wardlow's going to be a security guard somewhere coming out. And sure as shit, there he comes. It just worked so perfectly. I love this whole thing that's going on. Who knows, Schlong, maybe later in the show, we'll get an update on what's going on with MJF. We'll see. But we do, before we move on from this, I almost forgot, they do go backstage with the camera, and Wardlow is still fighting off security guards. And that's when he gets to the camera and grabs it and says that he will keep this up until Max releases him from his contract. Max looking awful nervous. So we'll see where this goes. We do get a Darby Avant-Garde video package, and he basically pitches Andrade on a coffin match. Sign me up. I like the coffin match we saw with Darby prior, so I think him and Andrade should have a fun coffin match. I'm all for it.
I
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just want to say, love the idea of the match. Again, gonna play into my little later rant. Not needed. The whole fucking thing wasn't needed. Just announce a coffin match.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think we've said that plenty of times on this show. A lot of the video packages and stuff they need, they just don't need as many of them. But I'm good for a coffin match, so we'll take it. Back from commercial, we get a Malachi Black vignette talking about ripping open his throat to find a dark abyss of razor blades. What? Maybe one day that'll be appreciated. And I think again, I'm sorry, did I forget? I think he's talking to Fuego here. Is that right?
He was.
Fuego del shit.
No. You do not shit on Fuego del Sol.
He's a loser. And he says that until he does that, until then, he'll appreciate a fan base that loves you and applauds you because the house wanted it. So they'll drag him down the brightest part of your soul and kill it. And he wants you to be afraid of the shadows, which is why he's there alone tonight. So clearly this is not over with Fuego del Sol. So we'll see what happens.
So again, just going to say there's something, like, I know you're not a huge Fuego fan, but this is actually a really well thought out story in the sense that Fuego's whole thing has been, you can't keep me down. You can't break me. I will lose a match, but I keep coming back. I keep standing up. And this is Malachi Black being like, I'm going to break your spirit. And I like that story.
I just don't know what I don't know where this goes, right? Like, I think that there could be more being done with the House of Black, and I'm just trying to figure out, Schlong. The only thing here is like, what are we trying to get out of Fuego del Sol, right? Are they trying to break his spirit? Are they trying to turn him? I just don't know where they're going.
I don't know where they're going, but I think viewing Malachi as someone who, like, he's had some matches, but the House of Black really is relatively new.
Yep.
And now using the full House of Black is like, we're gonna target and we're gonna destroy people's souls, for lack of a better term. And Fuego is the first person you target who's been notorious for just being like, I'm just gonna keep coming, like I'm gonna lose and lose and lose and lose, but nothing's gonna stop me. And then to be the first guy to break him, like to have, and I don't know if that means Fuego goes to the House of Black and becomes Fuego Dark or whatever, or if it just is they have like, he has this just broken spirit and they have to rebuild him someplace else. I just think that's an interesting story until you're ready to give Malachi Black like a bigger star to do that too. You start with Fuego and then you go somewhere else.
Now, Fuego del Sol, is that fire? What is that? Fire of the sun, right?
Something like that, yeah.
What's the exact opposite? That's what you do if he ever joins the House of Black.
Water of the moon?
I guess so. That's what I was thinking. Thank you for confirming that that's probably the right answer.
There you go.
Aqua de Luna? Right? That would have to be it.
Yes.
Anyway, we go to Eddie Kingston, Ortiz, and Santana versus Jericho Appreciation Society. That's Jericho, the Red Death, Daniel Garcia, and Jake Hager. Schlong, this was the first time I think I've noticed they did it, and I think it was the first time they did it, but correct me if I'm wrong. Was this the first time the intro for the Jericho Appreciation Society did that like fake WWE opening about the best in sports entertainment?
It sure was, and it was fucking amazing.
Loved it. I love this thing, this whole thing so much. I really love the way they're going with this. Listen, this was a brawl, some with good wrestling in between. Towards the end of this match, it is pretty close with Santana and Ortiz Santana, Ortiz, and Kingston getting out with the win. But as we get to the end of the match, Jericho is able to hit Eddie Kingston not Eddie Kingston, I'm sorry. It was Eddie Kingston. My bad. He's able to get Eddie Kingston in the back with the bat, and the Jericho Appreciation Society win by pinfall from Daniel Garcia on Eddie Kingston. Post-match, 2.0, who were doing a run-in at the end, get the beat down on Eddie and Santana and Ortiz, and then they're able to stand tall. The numbers game is just too much long. My other favorite part is we still had a shoeless Angelo and a injured thumb Matt, to keep the continuity here through the day. So fantastic.
Yeah. Apparently Angelo couldn't go and get shoes at some point during the day.
Hey, maybe he only had one pair. I don't know.
Jericho's got money. You'd think he'd buy him some shoes. So here's the thing. I love everything they're doing with the Jericho Appreciation Society. I actually legitimately do. I think that is cracking me up. I love doing this reunited to LAX. I think that's really working well. I actually like this feud. I did not want this match. And it's going to play into my later rant. So I'm going to say I think you could have put a women's match here. And the reason I do not like this match is it didn't really advance the story whatsoever. We already knew that numbers were too much for LAX.
Here's my thought, Schlong, is that this will lead to, because they really put an emphasis on commentary about the numbers being too much. Like, this was the first time I think they really, really hammered that. I agree.
That's the whole point. But we've known for weeks the numbers were too much.
But I think that
their asses kicked.
I think that this is going to lead to two other members coming in to this LAX, right?
And that's fair. And I'm not like totally against, like, I'm not, if I take it out of the context of me wanting something else in its place and take this as it is, it was perfectly fine. I guess my annoyance is I'm getting this is now the third or fourth week in a row where granted, this is the first time it was a match, but it's still the third or fourth week in a row where the numbers game has gotten the best out of Santana, Ortiz, and Kingston. I'm like, at what point do you think they realize 3 versus 5? Maybe we need 2 more.
Yeah, to be honest, Schlong, I thought as the beatdown was happening that we were going to get that backup. Like I thought Homicide was going to show up tonight.
I think that's where I got it. Why the segment was like, okay, I could have cut this, because that didn't happen. As you're announcing that the numbers are too much, that's when Homicide or someone showing up would have been a perfect, like, boom.
Right.
And it would have been like, perfect use. But it is ended the same way the segment with them has ended the last however many weeks, which is with the JAS standing strong. And I'm like, we've seen this. Like, and I like the story, but still, like, you keep giving me the same plot point. Do something more.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't disagree. I think they need to get to the second stage of this, right? And I think we all kind of agree with that, right? We need to see who the guys are going to be to even up the groups. And maybe Schlong, we'll talk about it later, but I have an idea of maybe where they're going with this. So we'll see. We'll talk about it a little bit later. But you like the match? Any problems with the match overall?
Its own match was fine. It was well put together. It had a lot of fun moments. Again, my annoyance has nothing to do with the actual ring quality. It's everything to do with the fact that I just think the story keeps ending the same way.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. And that's been our criticism with some of this stuff as of late. So we'll see how they work themselves out of this. After this match, they go backstage to MJF being interviewed, and he says he doesn't need sympathy because he has money, and Smart Mark Sterling reads the contract. It says that he can book Wardlow in any match that he wants. And he says that he's got just the thing for Wardlow. It's no more showing up, with nothing to do with the arena. And that's when he hands Jose an envelope full of money and says, I've got just the thing to slaughter you, piggy, a butcher. So that's when the butcher rolls up, does his intimidating stare down and grunt. Always fun to see Andy on TV. There you go, Schlong. You got it.
You have to do the pause because he waited a second, so it really looked like this for a second. And you're like, wait, there you go.
So we're lining up for Wardlow versus the Butcher next week. So we'll see how this works out. Do I think Wardlow's going to get beat? No, but do I think there's going to be some shenanigans involved? Of course I do. So we'll see how this works out.
Can I point out an issue here? And I'm sorry, it just
Go ahead.
He can book him in any match he wants. So he books him in a 1-on-1 match, not a no DQ 5-on-1 or something where like, what are we doing here?
I'm with you. He has anything he can do. Why not just put him against the whole Hardy family office? Or I'm sorry, not the Hardy family office, the Andrade family office.
Yeah, I don't, but that's a very minor nitpick because it's wrestling, and sometimes you just have to accept logic doesn't work.
For sure. Schlong, this is what I want to talk about. The big debut for Marina Shafir versus Sky Blue. And Jade Cargill's got her whole baddie section sitting ringside. Couple things. Red Velvet and Kiera Hogan are sitting in the baddie section. Nobody really knows what that's about. So I don't know if you got any thoughts there. But also, I don't know, Schlong. I'm going to say it. Find Marina Shafir very fucking boring. And I don't have any faith for this TBS championship match. Marina Shafir does wind up winning with submission, the leg and arm triangle choke. But this whole MMA background, judo-focused wrestling thing doesn't work for me. And I just have no faith in this Marina Shafir Jade Cargill match.
Okay. So can we, before I get into this, I'm going to do it. Later on, Ann is going to describe that after the next women thing we get is Thunder Rosa not getting a promo again and literally putting cake into Nyla Rose's face and then getting slammed against some equipment. Though Nyla Rose, doing her best to save the segment, goes, "Joke's on you. I love cake and violence." And that did make me laugh. But I want to, because it's all coming together in one giant thing. First, I'm going to talk about the good things I liked about the women's things tonight. One, do I love the idea of a Tony Storm and Jamie Hayter feud? Absolutely. Do I love that they're doing it in the first round? Fucking no, that's stupid. What you do is you have them on opposite sides of the bracket. They don't have to be in the championship together. They just have to not have the first fucking match. You don't have enough women where that you built up credibly. Let me rephrase that. You don't have enough women that you built up credibly that you would hurt anyone by having these two be separated, knowing they're going to get to face each other. No one would complain. It would have made perfect fucking sense. You then, something I like is I love Red Velvet and Kiera Hogan being in the baddie section. I think that's genius. If they start teaming up with Jade Cargill, amazing. I think that's a great plot point they could do. They did mention that Red Velvet's been having a different attitude lately. Really smart. Kiera Hogan's always had a bit of an attitude, at least in her Impact days. Really fucking smart. Marina Shafir was not as good tonight as she's been on Dark and Elevation, and I put that into the match they gave her. She is a badass. She comes across as a badass. You have to paint her up as a badass. You also, if you're going to have her squash somebody, and I like Sky Blue, you have to give her more than one fucking match before Jade Cargill. It's her only match that people have seen on TV before Jade Cargill. And I'm the biggest defender, but if you're going to give her a match, then give her a goddamn match. Don't give her a squash. You've done nothing for her. It didn't defend her. So the real issue is, how much fucking wrestling time did the women have tonight? 4 minutes?
Maybe. I don't know the exact number, but yeah, you are probably right.
So the women had 4 minutes in the ring with two people who are technically not signed. Whether they sign Marina after or not doesn't matter. She, as of this moment, is not signed. You have 4 minutes. It's a squash match. Your champion is throwing cake in someone's face. Your best feud has already been talked about, that it's going to be wasted in the first round of something. You have Ruby Soho just doing nothing. Apparently she's going to wrestle on Rampage against one of the Renegades, which I like the Renegades, but what the fuck? Put Ruby against Diamante tonight. Yeah, you're using two of your women and be a great match and be a fucking banger. You didn't have a plot for CM Punk versus Penta, so you don't need a plot for Ruby versus Diamante. You know, you don't they don't care about plots for men, so why do they care about it so much for women? 4 fucking minutes. How is anyone supposed to get interested in a division where all you get is 4 fucking minutes? No one will care.
So I'm going to play devil's advocate to a few things here. Fuck, I forgot the first point you made about whatever. Let's talk about Marina Shafir. Devil's advocate here. This is her first match on TV. They want it to be a squash. I'm okay with that. 4 minutes is probably right for a squash match, right? Mm-hmm. But it has to be a convincing squash. To me, Schlong, this seemed like she wasn't sure what she was doing at every moment. It was sloppy to me. And she didn't come off like a badass. She just kept staring out into the crowd. Like, it didn't work for me.
It wasn't booked great. It definitely, she's looked more like a badass on Dark and Elevation. So whoever did this didn't do a great job of booking this, producing it. But also, if you're going to give me a 4-minute squash match, I have absolutely zero problems with that. If you've given me another goddamn match. If you told me earlier in the show or later in the show I was getting a 15-minute women's match, and then you're going to get a 4-minute squash match. Again, if you gave me the Jericho Appreciation Society length match with, I'm going to use Ruby because she's the biggest fucking star they do nothing with Ruby Soho versus someone, and you gave me that length of the Jericho match, and then you did squash, I'd be perfectly fucking okay with it. But as your only match, what are you doing? She's not going to beat Jade. Like, let's just if she beats Jade, I'll eat some crow on that because it would be a shock to the fucking world. But she's not going to beat Jade. So you're wasting 4 minutes. You're wasting you've done nothing for this division. She's good. She's got one win on TV. She's going to lose and she's going to be forgotten again. You have AQA who you booked. Why isn't she wrestling on here? She puts some great matches. She would have had a great match against Marina Shafir. You're
not supposed to have. If it's a straight squash, you're not supposed to have somebody have a great match against your monster.
I don't understand. I guess I don't understand the point of. I get the point of. I guess my issue is you could have been giving her squashes for weeks. Then one squash to me does not make you And I
Don't
like her. And I was the
disagree.
one defending it. But I guess what bothers me is you have you booked one match. It was 4 minutes. It featured 2 unsigned talents, and all these big stars you have in your thing, you're doing nothing with. Ruby's first match on TV is Friday. It's the first time since fucking February. Yeah, what are you doing? You have all this talent and you're doing nothing with it. Kiera Hogan, I love that she's in the baddie section. I think that's great. Why isn't she used more? She's got TV experience. She's good.
No,
All
listen,
like
again, don't disagree. I'm going to play devil's advocate here a little bit. I understand we should have a second women's match. I don't disagree with that. There were things that could have been cut out of this to give time for that. But if you're going to just give us Marina Shafir in her debut, regardless of it being a bad or a good match, that has to be a positive, right? Because we're debuting new talent on television. We're not just seeing the same people over and over again. So at the very least, shouldn't we be somewhat happy that we're seeing them debut a new talent they're trying to cultivate on their own product, at least on, television, main television?
So I got to get my anger out of the way they've done this, because if they had another match, I would have been perfectly fine with this. As like you just said, new talent, you're getting people over, you're trying to build Marina up for Jade. All that works well in my book. If you have another fucking match.
No, I don't disagree with that. I don't.
Yeah, no, and you're right. Like I completely agree. They are building new talent, and I like Marina. Like I'm a fan of hers because she's been on Dark and Elevation so much. I've actually someone who supports her on this, but it just, why is anyone going to ever be invested in anything the women's division does when they never do anything with them? They get one half story and then they move on. Ruby got her introduction, she got her title shot, and she's been gone. You're going to have, you're wasting a story of Marina Shafir, not Marina Shafir, of Toni Storm and Jamie Hayter on the first fucking round. Name another tournament that would do that.
Well, I think again, playing devil's advocate to that, and that was actually the point I couldn't remember you made. Perhaps the thinking here is we've only seen Toni Storm once. Maybe a number of this crowd isn't familiar with who she is. So we have to burn this. We have to build this and burn this in the first round to build up Toni Storm to an audience that is maybe new for Toni Storm.
That's fine. Except I still don't agree with it, because you could give her a first round against anyone. It would have had, when you're in a tournament, you can have faces go against faces. You can have it doesn't matter, because the match itself is just based on the tournament.
Sure.
The story is two people going through the tournament. So the story should be that you have Jamie Hayter, whatever way you want to line up the brackets. Jamie Hayter's over here, Toni Storm's over here, and they both have to they want to face each other. They fucking hate each other. They said it in a promo. And well, they didn't say that, but that you would make them say that. And the story is they both have to keep winning to get here. And you keep telling that story throughout, and people build and they get more and more excited for the match. Do it in round one. It's just forgotten. It'll be forgotten as soon as it's done.
But if you do it in round one, Schlong, again, this is all devil's advocate talk. If you do it in round one, let's say Toni Storm comes out on top, and then, Jamie Hayter costs her next round win or something like that, then this story has longer life to it, right? Because now it continues past the tournament. It's not necessarily forgotten, because
you could
it's
do
all
that
played
though.
off
If
the tournament.
you could do that if it happens, she faces Jamie second, the right before the finals, beats Jamie's pissed off, costs her the finals. Like, you could do that story a bunch of times. The first round, you've now taken on a big, giant chunk of what could be a tournament story. Also, where's Serena Deeb? I know she's got her stuff with Sheeta, but why isn't she wrestling tonight? You have, again, I'll use AQA because she had such a fantastic match. Give me Deeb versus AQA tonight. That'd be fucking fantastic. Chris Statlander, I get it. She got kind of fucked because Layla Hirsch's injury, and that sucks, because that was a story I was really into. They're building. But Chris Statlander's got a new gimmick. I know she wrestled on Dark. She apparently got new Tron and music. Fucking bring her out and have her fight. Do it on fucking TV. I don't even care if you're bringing in random talent from Mission Pro or something. If you give them at least the length of a match, you're going to at least get people excited for the signed AEW talent. Not to mention, if you look on the roster page, there are a shit ton of men and not a lot of women. Fucking there are talented women out there. Bring them in, even if they're on appearance deals. Bring them in, put them on your roster. Fucking Willow is right there.
Yeah, and I think Schlong too. A number of these women are probably going to come in once they figure out Ring of Honor, because you have to fill a Ring of Honor women's division, right? So I think that's something else that can lead into signing more women once you have
100.
2 divisions to fill. The other thing too, Schlong, I think the problem is that they're just so invested in booking this tournament that's why we're not seeing some of this talent regularly. I think maybe they're just trying to get into this tournament and then, figure out the rest from there.
But my problem with that is, how often do men get their throwaway matches that mean nothing, but they had a good match on TV?
I don't disagree.
Our match that led off the card tonight is a perfect fucking example of Punk versus Penta. That story, there's no story between the two of them. There's just 2 great wrestlers. You could do that with women. There's no story between Swerve and QT Marshall, but they had a match. You have Sheeta, you have Deep, you have Statlander, you have AQA, you have Diamante, who they don't use at all, and I never will fucking understand it. You have Britt Baker hasn't re-debuted yet, but when she comes back, you have Britt, you have Thunder Rosa, you have Nyla, you have Jade, you have Hayter, you have Tony Storm, you have people they've used like Matthew Plus was that, Ashley D'Amboise, who's been doing great on the indies. You have Kylan King, who was killing it when you guys would let her use it. They had all these talents. They were Willow, who they just used. You have Trisha Dora out there. Bring these fucking people. I know some will go to ROH, but at least for fucking now, let them get reps in on TV. And even if you're only going to push a handful of women, let those women have matches so people can be in. The AEW audience likes matches. They will get behind anyone who's having regular matches. So if you're going to say we want to push Serena Deeb, or we want to push Ruby Soho, yes, she doesn't have to go out every time and beat Britt or beat Hayter. She can beat an Ashley D'Amboise. She can beat a Kylan King. She can beat Diamante. But AEW fans will love it because they love matches. But when you don't give them matches, they will never embrace it. So, and when you limit the amount of matches, you put so much more pressure on the match that you do have. So Marina Shafir and Sky Blue, who I forget, and I love Sky Blue. Sky Blue is someone I should know. She's a great babyface. You have Marina versus Sky Blue, and it wasn't the greatest, and it looks worse because it's the only fucking match. So it's that much harder. They have all the pressure of making it work. If you have multiple matches, then there's less pressure. So it's probably the longest I've ever ranted on something. It's probably the only thing I don't like, but I don't understand how you can book the men's division so well and book the women's division not at all, basically. You just don't book it. I mean, you had your fucking world champ throw cake in her contender's face. And again, Nyla did her best and Thunder Rosa obviously does her best. But Nyla did her best with that whole, I love cake and violence, but like, what the fuck are we doing here? We made fun of WWE for having Tony Storm throw pie into Charlotte's face. We got to do this. We're going to have to make the same criticisms here of like, you have fucking Thunder Rosa throwing cake into Nyla's. Like, it's very fucking frustrating that I can see these small incremental positives, and I do. But the easiest thing they could do is just book matches, and that would be the biggest help, and he just refuses to do it.
I mean, it's just not going to happen. I mean, that's the thing that I think we need to all realize is they're not going to book more than one women's match on television in a 2-hour show. They're not. It's not going to change. They book them in on the 2-hour show for one match, whether that's a long match, a short match. They've main evented, and we've had lights out matches, extreme matches, table matches, whatever. They put another match on Friday nights. They get a lot of time on the darks. That's the way it's going to be. And I'm not saying it's right, but it's not going to fucking change. It's really not. I think as far as the Nyla Rose, Thunder Rosa situation goes, I think that this whole thing has been fucked from the start, because for some reason they always decide they have to give us Nyla Rose as your first viable challenger. And that's not the way to go about it. And I think we've all said that and agreed on that. It just makes no sense.
And they've ruined Nyla Rose because she never wins the big match. She's Lance fucking Archer. And I'll say it again, Nyla Rose's best thing is her person. And I'm not, this is an insult to her, it's a compliment. Like, I'm not even, but her best thing is her personality. She has a ton of it. So what do? You give her Vicky Guerrero, and I like Vicky, but Vicky doesn't need to be with Nyla. Give Vicky to someone who can't talk. Let Nyla do her own stuff. I still say make Nyla face, give it some fresh paint. But why couldn't your first feud be Thunder Rosa versus Serena Deeb? Thunder Rosa versus, oh wait, that's right, they didn't build anyone else up.
Yeah, I'm not saying
literally. I'm just, I did that on purpose. Like I stopped. Like,
yeah, no, I know, and I'm just, I'm not saying that's not right. You're absolutely right. I just think that for whatever reason they can't get past the tournament, right? Like they just are so set on just booking the tournament, and that they just can't seem to extend the storylines too far past something like this, because the last tournament they did was, I think we all agreed it was pretty positive. They came out of it with a lot of storylines and things just sort of fizzled. And then it was like, well, we don't know where else to go. So
he can book a tournament, but also a tournament is probably the easiest fucking thing to book. And I think he's already made a mistake with this one. So what am I going to like, but you're right. They book it. We had a lot of positives come out of that last one. The first one sucked, but the tag tournament was a waste. But you had a lot of positives come out of that last one. And you had a lot of positives come out of the TBS championship one. And they went nowhere with them. And I don't understand how I think what's frustrating for everyone who watches, who's a fan of women's wrestling, is that I think Kate said it last week, or a couple weeks ago now, that she had her big rant. This is my turn. Is that it's clearly just not caring, because you can't be this good at booking men's stories and be this bad at booking women's stories for no other reason than you just don't care.
I don't know if it's not caring or feeling like you're just stuck in this format, right? And that it's one match once a night and that's it. And there's nowhere else to build.
Yeah, or I'm going to give him way bigger benefit of the doubt than I probably should, but I'm going to give it to him for this. Is if you want to say that he knows that, like, not everyone's built up, they've only just really built up a roster with some really solid workers, and he's been very hesitant to put them out there so they don't get trashed. I could almost understand that, except for one giant flaw in that reasoning. You will never improve if you don't put matches on the TV. It's simple math. It's like saying, you can't win a hockey game if you don't shoot on net. You can't ever have a chance of building a wrestler up if they're not given proper TV time. You can't get fans invested in a division if it's not given TV time. So maybe you're trying to protect them because you don't think they're there yet, but they'll never be there if you don't let them try. I'd rather watch bad. I know this is going to sound terrible, but I'd rather these matches be bad and be like, well, they're working their way through it, than just not happening at all. Because at least if they're bad and getting better, there's hope.
But Ryan, I hate to say this, you're in the minority with that. The majority of people out there, if they did something, just playing devil's advocate here, if they did something and said, like, we're going to give a 2-hour Dynamite, an all women's match Dynamite, I guarantee you the numbers would be terrible and that people would not tune into it. And I'm not saying it's right, and I'm not saying but
that's unfortunately wrestling fandom for a lot of people, is that it's
the condition that people have been put into.
And because you have a mixture there. You have just assholes who are like, I won't watch women's wrestling, and then you have the people who've been conditioned because for up until the last 8 years, basically, women's wrestling wasn't great. Not through no fault of women's wrestling, it's just they weren't pushed, and so you, as a fan, you get conditioned to not watch it. But my thing is, you can't break that conditioning if you don't give them women's wrestling.
I mean, the unfortunate thing is you're getting it, just not on television. You are getting it on the darks. A lot
And
of
they're
it.
good matches. You could put a bunch of those matches on TV and people would have been perfectly happy. They're solid matches. And also, I saw Gordon Post ask about Mercedes Martinez. I'm forgiving not including her in any of this because she is the ROH Women's Champion, and they're going to protect her. However, we've just shown they don't know how to book the Women's Champion, so who knows where the fuck she's going to go. But you can't have her go out and take losses. So either you're going to have her win stuff, and then you run into the problem of like, which belt is she, AW belt is she going for, or she's taking losses, which devalues the ROH. That's kind of a weird booking that he doesn't have. I'll forgive him Mercedes, but the fucking rest of them, I'm sorry. Like, go out, bring in more women. You have all this talent. You deal with Thunder Rosa, who runs Mission Pro. She has so many talented women that wrestle for her. You have so many talented women already on your roster. Just give me fucking matches. Just don't give me 4-minute squash. Give me a 4-minute squash and a 10-minute match. Not even that great. I still don't think that's a long match, but like, give me fucking something. Let me sink my teeth into this. Right now, I'm just sitting by going, what the hell are we doing?
As far as Mercedes and the and the Ring of Honor title, you're not going to see her defend that. You're not going to see that title until it's a unification with her and Deanna. I mean, that's where we have to get to. So I think until we get there, we're not going to see Mercedes with that belt defending the title or anything like that. But maybe I'll be wrong. Who knows? They have to get the unified title match though, because Deanna couldn't fight at the pay-per-view. So that's going to be the next time we see that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, listen, it's the way it is, man. It's not going to change. And I'm not saying it's right, but right now they're not giving us more than one match a night. They just have to do better with the way they book that match and they book these stories. And if they can book a solid women's match once a night consistently, which it seemed like they were doing for a while, that's the most we can hope for, because it's not going to change. And I'm not saying it's right. I would love to see more of these women on my TV because there are a lot of good wrestlers that they have, but it ain't going to change. It's just not.
Yeah, I agree. And Drew Nicholas made a comment in our comments saying, he could see the cake bit being a joke against Vince, which I absolutely agree with. Except the problem is Tony has no leg to stand on. Like, no one thinks like, oh, this is a joke against Vince, because the women's booking has been so bad in AEW that they could just see this being the booking.
But also, who's coming up with that? Because there's been plenty of rumors that what goes on is whatever the talent decides they want to do. So do we know, was this something they were told, like, hey, do a cake, somebody get a cake in the face? Or was this exactly what they wanted to do? Was this the idea that Nyla Rose had? Because if it was, then it's the talent's fault.
So yeah, the talent has yes and no. I know the talent has a lot of control, but Tony has control over what goes on TV. So at some point, he needed to step in and say this was dumb if it wasn't his idea. And maybe I wouldn't. Again, these are all small things. I probably wouldn't have hated the squash if there was a better women's match on the TV. I wouldn't have hated the cake thing if everything else with the women's division was fine. But when you have these issues to begin with, it's hard for me to sit there and be like, I'm going to accept this shit. When you're not giving me something, like if you had just had Serena versus Ruby, like just put on a great match, and then you did a squash and the cake thing, I'd be loving tonight. I'd be like, that was a really good night for women's wrestling, because I could ignore that. Well, the squash wouldn't have mattered, and then I could ignore the cake. But when you don't give me any of that and all I have is a squash, I'm going to sit here and be really critical. Like, that was where I was joking with Kate that I would give her a rant tonight, do a rant tonight on her behalf. And then this is what we got. And I was like, no, I actually have one in me, because I don't usually get this angry, but it's like, the fuck? Like, I see them build up all these women on Dark and Elevation and then just do nothing.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we're getting to the tournament. That's all this is. We're getting to the tournament. And we're going to be put in the same position as we were last time. The tournament has to deliver, and it has to give us storylines after the tournament finishes, or else it's a bust, and we're back in the same boat. So, I don't know where to go from here. It's not changing. The format's not changing because the format, unfortunately, is working in their favor. Whether it includes the women or it doesn't, it's working in their favor. Again, not thinking it's right, but
no, I agree.
That's how it is.
They're because the rest of what he has is so good that he can kind of just get by with not changing this.
Somebody asked, I think it was Gordon Post, said, do you think they do the unification match in AEW TNA or whenever they get Ring of Honor going again? I think you're going to see it night one of whenever they figure out what's going on with Ring of Honor. I don't think they're doing it on Impact Television because it's now, owned by Tony, and they're going to want to do it on their TV. So they're not going to put it on an Impact TV. I guess there's still a working relationship with Ring of Honor, but essentially there's no other working relationship. So I think it's going to be on Ring of Honor TV when it gets there. I don't even think they do it on AEW television.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one.
Anyway, let's move on. We get a Hook interview backstage, and Smart Mark Sterling and Tony Nese roll up, and they're upset because Nese isn't being interviewed. And Hook stands up and is able to run them off. They're just saying, well, we're just trying to get an interview. And that's when Danhausen appears behind Hook, and he casually throws a medicine ball Hausen back at Danhausen. And Danhausen is still confused as to why the curse won't work. Schlong, let me tell you the biggest thing that I'm hopeful for here is Danhausen, is walking around with no boot or anything. I'm like, hey, maybe he's close to coming back.
He must be close to coming back because, I mean, even just the way he reacted to that medicine ball hitting him, has someone who's had a bad knee and gone through knee rehab and stuff. If your knee's messed up, you're not taking it like a fall, like a slide fall like that, because there's actually a lot of risk.
Yeah, of course.
So he's got to be. I loved whatever the fuck he was wearing.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Whatever workout suit that was.
Oh, so good.
Let's see. We get a Ethan Page, Sammy Guevara promo. It is what it is. They're basically just setting up a title match for Battle of the Belts. So we'll talk about that later. We get into Keith Lee and Swerve versus Team Taz's Absolute Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs. This is a homecoming for Ricky Starks. You could see as he came out, he was very emotional to be back in New Orleans, which is always great to see. These guys feel it when they're back home. Good crowd reaction for him too. It looked like Swerve and Keith Lee were going to come out on top here, but Taz comes down to ringside and is able to actually get involved. He runs interference on Keith Lee. Hobbs is able to hit the spine buster on Keith Lee and gets the 1-2-3. So Team Taz winds up winning, and the crowd is happy that their boy Ricky Starks came out on top. Schlong, what'd you think of this match?
The match was really good. The both teams worked very well together as a team. I mean, Starks and Hobbs have been with each other for a while, so you figure they might have good chemistry. But Swerve and Lee looked really good together. That one where Swerve used Lee's chest to do the moonsault or whatever off him was phenomenal. Starks got such an ovation. I was really happy for him. Like, that's nothing would be worse than being at your hometown and not having fans cheer for you. That would suck. I actually like the outcome too, because Swerve and Lee, they can take the loss and at any time, because they still seem so important and so awesome. I feel like if Starks and Hobbs don't get wins in at least some of these wins, they run the risk of becoming Lance Archer or Nyla, where it's like you never take them seriously because they don't ever get their big wins. So giving them a big win, even in a tag match, makes you at least feel like, okay, they get a win here and there. So and Starks is just, he's so good, and so is Hobbs, and so are Hobbs, and so is Lee. Everyone in this match is so good at what they do. But I don't think Starks gets his flowers enough. He is just awesome. He really performs at such a high level.
Any problem that Starks didn't get the pin and the win tonight? I didn't have a problem with it so much because I think we're going to get a series of solo matches with him and Swerve.
I get why people wanted it because he's in the home crowd and that's like a moment. However, I just think giving him the win in his home crowd was fun. Like, people were still happy that their boy won.
Yeah, I'm with you there. The crowd didn't seem to care. They just were happy that he won. But I didn't have a problem because I think they're leading into, more with him and Swerve. So we're going to see
just
more
give me him and Swerve again and again and again. So good.
Yeah. Ryan's favorite segment of the night comes next. Thunder Rosa backstage being interviewed, and Nyla Rose comes with the cake, and they smash the cake in her face, and it's a whole brouhaha. So we're clearly just leading to this title match on Saturday night. That is all we're doing at this point, and hopefully after that we can move on to more important stuff with Thunder Rosa. And now we are getting into our main event. Oh, I forgot they did a video package for Adam Cole versus Hangman Adam Page going into their title match, their Texas Death match on Friday night. So we're just building there. I don't know, Schlong, if you had anything you wanted to say about it, but I thought it was a nice video package just to remind people kind of this immediate history that they have, and just to make sure.
Good package, but nothing extra. Nothing that needs to be said. The whole thing's been established.
Totally. And now we're into our main event, folks. The thing everybody's talking about, Minoru Suzuki versus Samoa Joe for the Ring of Honor World Television Championship. And my goodness, we have Jay Lethal, by the way, and Sanjay Dutt sitting front row for this one. So we knew that they said there was a gift for Samoa Joe tonight. So we were waiting with bated breath. But they opened this match long with it had to be like 5 straight minutes of slapping each other across the chest. Joe's chest immediately was black and blue and red. And Suzuki also had some swelling on his chest. Just, my goodness, did not look comfortable to be taking those open fist or open palm slaps. And as we get through this match, we do get Suzuki looking for the Gotch pile driver, but he decides better of it and hits Joe with more chops. And we're getting closer to the end. It looks like Suzuki might pull it out, but Samoa Joe is able to get him, and Samoa Joe wins by pinfall with the Muscle Buster to become the new Ring of Honor World Television Champion. Schlong, I want to pause there before we get to the end. What did you think of this match?
Ow. I'll tell you who was probably furious about this match. It's Bret Hart. Because Bret Hart the whole point of wrestling is to not hurt your opponent. And boy, do they hurt each other. I mean, I'm facetiously saying that, but there is a little bit of truth there. He didn't like Ric Flair's chops for that reason. But Jesus Christ, my God. Really fun, hard hitting. Gordon Post saying he thought it felt obvious that Joe was going to win. Yeah, it was. Because Suzuki was a surprise to win the TV title to begin with. But it's a nice story for Joe. He is one of the guys most associated with ROH. He gets to hold that belt again. I don't know if he ever held it before, but he gets to hold that belt in such a hard-hitting match. So much fun. I just can't believe how good Samoa Joe is at this and that he could have been let go twice by another company because he just gets it.
He had to vacate the title.
How do you have a guy this good that you don't I mean, he does everything little in that ring. He looks like a badass, but he sells to the toughest level. His chest was just bright red and then turning other colors because of it. I love the Muscle Buster at the end. It was just very, very good. Joe is, and I like giving him a title, like an ROH title, because you keep him away from the other titles then, but he has something around his waist that's important. And it's a whole different line of feuds that you can give with him. And that's kind of what I hope they do with some of these titles for right now, is that they use like the TV title and the pure title on AEW TV for AEW feuds until they have ROH back up and running fully. And Drew Nicholas pointing out he did not hold that title on ROH, so that's pretty cool that he gets to hold the title.
Yeah, and I think it was okay that Suzuki won it at the pay-per-view, right? So you get a little bit of traction because Suzuki wins his first title on US soil, or his first American title at Ring of Honor, and then he comes in and drops it to a guy who's got an extensive Ring of Honor kind of history. I don't mind that. And we spoke about it too last week. Like Rhett was good for that title, but you don't know what's going to happen, right? So you don't know if Rhett's going to be there. So you had to kind of pull it off him. So I didn't have a problem with that. I'll say this. I thought, hey, Samoa Joe might win, but there was part of me thinking that Suzuki might hang on to this title. We saw Swerve take a loss, I think, in his second match in the company. So, I thought maybe the same thing could happen here and Suzuki would hold on to the title, but I don't have a problem with the way that this played out in the end. Now, let's get to the post-match Schlong. Post-match, Sanjay Dutt and Lethal are calling out Joe from the ramp, and they say they have a special present for him. They're holding a box, and Dutt opens the box, but it's just Lethal giving Joe the middle finger, and they laugh, but the lights go down, and when they come back, a giant is standing behind Samoa Joe. It is Satnam Singh, and we find out, I guess he is a basketball player who's been training with some of the wrestlers in AEW, and he starts to put the beat down on Joe, and as Dutt and Lethal are able to also get the jump on him. When they get Joe back in the ring, Singh holds Joe in place where they put boots to him, and then he applies a head vice. The lethal injection gets hit, and then Jay lays the belt across Samoa Joe, and that's the end of the show. So Schlong, the big news, the debut of Satnam Singh. What did you think about this?
What the fuck? I mean, you have the lights go out. You feel like you're in the overrun. You think, oh man, who the fuck could they even be bringing in at this point? And then there's a guy no one knows. I mean, that's the worst part. Regardless of anything else, no one knows him. So, like, I'd be okay. Like, that's where like the lights out gimmick, they abuse it a little bit. Like, he didn't deserve the lights out gimmick. You could have just had him like cross over the barrier or something and be like, oh my god, who is this man? But like, what like new one, and unfortunately giant, like there's been obviously some big show Paul White, actually Braun Strowman, for all of his issues now, he could wrestle. Paul White could wrestle. Andre the Giant, but most of the guys built like Singh is built, and there was a list because there, you have obviously Giant Gonzalez, Commander Aziz, Great Khali, Omos, who's currently wrestling, Reese. You have all these giant guys, and I stole that list from someone, but they never really do that well. So I think a lot of people are like, what are we doing here? Because it's never worked, and this seems very WWE and not AEW at all. And I think that a lot of people are scared of like, what does this mean? Because he moved okay, but I don't think he moved great enough that people are like, this is going to be good.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm with you. Like, it was somebody who nobody knew. I think it was literally just for the shock factor. And the shock factor was that this guy's fucking huge. I mean, Joe next to him looked like a fucking baby. Like, I think that's the shock factor. I have no idea who he is until they tell me. So that whole thing kind of got lost on me. But I can kind of see what they're doing here. To me, this sort of makes sense, only for the sheer fact that you have a lot of heaters now around Jay Lethal, right? And the criticism was he's here, but he's not really doing anything. And now we've actually advanced this story. We gave him a couple heaters, make him look dangerous. So it sort of makes sense to me.
Yeah, maybe I'm being harsher on it because of the position and how they did it. lights out, overrun. If this is the middle of the show, or again, like I said, he just steps over the barrier, it might feel a little bit different. But to make him like a surprise, you don't give a surprise that no one knows.
Sure. No, I don't disagree with that. I think that this is all to play into the storyline that they were building from the pay-per-view with Joe and Jay Lethal. I don't think that I think that this has big Ring of Honor implications, not so much AEW implications. If anything, once Ring of Honor gets up and running, we'll see Singh in Ring of Honor, not so much AEW.
And I hope so.
Go ahead.
I hope so. I just think a lot of people right now are a little afraid because in WWE currently, there's a gentleman named Omos who just cannot wrestle, and he's built very similarly. So I think there's a lot of gun shy of like, oh God, are we going to get our own version of Omos over here?
Listen, wrestling fans love a freak show. So, I mean, this guy's gigantic. We'll have to see what he can do. We saw very basic shit out of him tonight, and they made sure to kind of note that he's been working with some of these wrestlers. He's not like a seasoned pro. I think they even said he's a basketball player. So you'd hope that he can move a little bit better than some of the other large guys who've done this in the past that didn't move so well, like Kali or even Omos, right? Truth be told, when the lights went out, I thought it was going to be, to be honest, I thought it might be Brody King because there's some of that Ring of Honor history with Brody King. Not even, Malachi Black. My first thought was, oh man, Brody King. This makes sense. Ring of Honor ties. And, we kind of need something maybe for him to get going. Right. But it is what it is.
You want to know who I thought it might have been for a second? And only because it was the overrun and a blank screen? Cesaro.
Claudio, yeah. I think when the time comes, if they do bring Claudio in, I don't think it would be on the overrun. I think they'd make a bigger splash with it towards the top of the show. Only because they've kind of had that track record of kind of leading off with those kind of bigger items, right? And even when Keith Lee debuted, it was like right in the middle of the show or right at the end of the first half. So yeah, I mean, it could have been anything, lights go out, it's anything, please, Lethal and Dutt could have just jumped into the ring behind Samoa Joe at that point. Yeah, this was sort of lost on me. We'll have to see what comes of this. Either way, I think it's definitely more Ring of Honor implications than AEW. So we'll see what happens. And maybe we'll see more of what Satnam has to offer, but I think we're not really going to see that. I think it's going to be a slow roll until we can kind of see what he would do in a ring. Until then, he's just going to be kind of like a hired gun to work with Lethal and Sanjay Dutt.
I'm okay with that. If he's just solely muscle and then goes to wherever the new ROH is.
Yeah, I have a feeling that's how it's going to work out. So, Schlong, we mentioned that they've dubbed this championship week. So we had 2 championship matches tonight. One changed hands. Friday night at Rampage, we're getting the Texas Death Match for the AEW World Championship. That'll be Adam Cole versus Hangman Adam Page. The Gun Club will we'll have a match against the debuting trio for the Blackpool Combat Club. That's Mox, Danielson, and Wheeler Yuta. And we're also going to get an Owen Cup qualifying match with Ruby Soho versus Robin Renegade. And it should be noted that Friday night, Rampage will be 7 Eastern because of the basketball schedule. It's getting pushed. So we'll see if maybe that helps at all with the ratings since it'll be on earlier in the day, although that's 4 p.m. West Coast time. So I'm not sure how it'll do on the West Coast. Some of the other things that they did tell us, kind of coming up during this week. At Battle of the Belts Saturday night, we'll have the women's AEW championship match with Thunder Rosa versus Nyla Rose. They also announced it's official. We'll have Scorpio Sky defending his title against Sammy Guevara. And Schlong, in the surprise news for me, we're going to get the Ring of Honor championship defended. Jonathan Gresham versus Dalton Castle.
I pray to God Dalton Castle gets signed to the AEW ROH thing, whatever, because he's so much fun.
He is somebody who's become, well, he was a big part of a Ring of Honor, but he's really kind of become somebody that has a lot of, has those ties to the history, right? So I do think it would be foolish for them not to sign Dalton Castle. He seems like a loyalist for that company. I think at one point, he maybe had his contract coming up, and there were talks of him possibly getting interest from other places. And he stuck with Ring of Honor. So I think when you see that from a lot of guys, you'd be foolish not to keep him around. I like Dalton Castle a lot. I think his gimmick is super fun with him and the boys. So I look forward to that match on Saturday night. And programming note for us, I can tell you, Schlong, that there will be a post-show bonus show for Battle of the Belts 2. I know I'll be on it. I know that somebody else in my house will be on it. And I guess if anybody else from our podcast, you or Kate or anybody else wants to join in, certainly. But I know that Mr. and Mrs. Money are planning on doing a post-show that night. So make sure you mark your calendar. That's right. Saturday night after Battle of the Belts, we'll be jumping on to do a post-show download.
Excellent.
And Schlong, they did also announce for Dynamite next week, we know we're getting Wardlow versus The Butcher. We're going to get Hook making his Dynamite debut. So that should be fun. They didn't say who he's going to wrestle. There are a lot of people. Well, there's one person in my house who's hoping it's not Tony Nese, but we'll see.
It's going to be Tony Nese.
We'll see. I don't know if Smart Mark Sterling would sign up Tony Nese against Hook if he knows, he can't win. But we'll see. We're also going to get a couple Owen Hart qualifier matches. We're going to see Britt Baker versus Daniela Kamela. Kamela. And then Jungle Boy versus Kyle O'Reilly. And we're going to get that coffin match with Darby Allin versus Andrade. And Schlong, they did pitch. There will be a huge announcement by TK next week. Now, Schlong, I don't know if you have any thoughts. My initial thought was they've locked something in for Ring of Honor.
That was my initial thought and kind of what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, I have a feeling that it's going to be something to do with Ring of Honor, but we'll see. So that's all coming up this week and next week. So stay tuned for that. Schlong, a couple other notes from AEW over the week. There was some really bizarre news that came out about Tony Khan talking about the anti-AEW online community, where he put out a tweet saying an independent study has confirmed much of the staunch anti-AEW online community aren't real individuals. It's a staff running thousands of accounts, plus an army of bots to signal boost them. Look closely, these aren't real people. Who'd pay for such a wildly expensive thing? Ever wonder why so much of the activity on these accounts is retweets and replies? Like who actually has 80% of their activity as straight up retweets? So the interesting thing is he made mention of this independent study. Well, turns out, according to Wrestling Observer's Brian Alvarez, Tony Khan really did commission an actual study, and that they did tell him that they discovered that bots were basically running online to signal boost. And Alvarez was under the impression there's more to come because the study is not complete yet. Schlong, what the fuck is going on?
I mean, the fuck?
So crazy.
Like, so there's a couple different things here. One, I think the tweet was half working. Like, he clearly was making half of a joke there to be like, who has the money? Like, but even still, he probably needs a PR person to step in and be like, you've got some history with tweets. Maybe your joking tweets don't go over the way you think they do. The study wise, I actually understand commissioning that study, or at least reviewing it, whatever they did with the study, because you would want to know if the hate for you is genuine, if the criticisms you're getting is genuine, because that's going to impact your product. If the criticisms you're seeing out there are real, then you're going to want to adjust to what they are. If you find out they're not, then you can back away. That being said, and bots are real, 100% real.
Yep.
But there's also just a lot of burners out there. They're not bots, but they're burners. And I think he could be confusing, and I think his study could have even been confusing bots and burners, because a burner is a real person. They're just solely existing to troll, which you can take for its own issue because people are weird. But what the fuck, Tony? Why'd you tweet it?
Yeah, well, maybe even more odd is that in social media posts and comments about Tony Khan's Army of Bots tweet, Adam Scherr was claiming that Tony Khan paid the dirt sheets and banned AEW talent from working the Control Your Narrative shows. If you ask me, Schlong, nobody's banning anybody from working Control Your Narratives. They're just not good.
The fuck again? Like, he doesn't pay the dirt sheets. Like, get over that, Adam. Like, we get it. That's like an old WWE talking line. We get it. You still use that. He doesn't ban anyone from performing. Now, I will say this. Someone might have said to him, do you think we could perform that? He probably might have said, are you sure you want to perform it? Control Your Narrative? Because it does have some bad implications for who goes there. Just like, why are you associated with just a shit show? They fucking filmed a Taco Bell commercial without the consent of Taco Bell.
Right.
Like, they're weird. And then Adam Scherr isn't saying that, CYN isn't the indies. Bud, you are the indiest of the indies. Like, what world do you live in? He needs to shut up. He is not helping his brand out at all.
Yeah, I mean, there's even I know there's theories out there that he's playing like an extreme gimmick on his social, right? I don't know about that, man. I think he believes the Kool-Aid that he's drinking. But yeah, just such a weird thing. I can't wait, Schlong. If there is this actual study out there and it actually comes out, I will read it and see how batshit crazy it is. Because I just can't wait.
Of course, I know the study is real. Like, I mean, the few people that have said, like, the study actually exists. There's been a couple of accounts online being like, just because the study exists and through no malice or improper intent, the study could still be wrong because they just, if you try to do it by algorithm or by like equation and you don't verify things, you could easily confuse what's a bot account with a burner or just like an account that tweets like a bot who's just something, because there are some people who are just so pro and anti that they tweet like they're bots.
Yeah, for sure. Well, stay tuned for the next saga of the bot story. There's also rumors out there that there have been talks or feeling out discussions between Ember Moon and AEW, but there doesn't seem to be a sense of urgency to sign her up. Again, maybe that is true. They're kind of feeling out, but maybe they're not signing her yet because they want to see what's up with Ring of Honor, right? They're going to need to fill that roster at some point. So we'll see what happens. But apparently there have been some discussions between AEW and Ember Moon, or at least they're investigating bringing her in. That's the possibility.
I'm not going to comment because it would just get another rant out of me.
Schlong, there was also an interview with ESPN that Tony Khan did where he was asked if we're going to see a blood and guts match this year. And he said, yeah, I'd say to expect blood and guts this summer. So Schlong, the reason I kind of, I mentioned before when we were talking about Eddie Kingston and Santana and Ortiz and the Jericho Appreciation Society, and maybe why we haven't seen people come in, is maybe that's where this is going to end up, in a blood and guts with 2 other members of, LAX coming in, right? And maybe we don't even know who they are until we get to the match. And that's where they kind of reveal it's Homicide and Hernandez, or 2 other guys.
So let me just say this. I'm okay with that as long as we're not waiting to fucking summer for it.
I mean, summer's right around the corner.
Are we talking June summer, or are we talking like July or August summer? Because I don't feel like stretching this out to July.
I don't remember when the last Blood and Guts happened, and I'm sure somebody in the chat's going to be like, hey, idiot, it was last May or something. Like, whatever. I mean, I don't know, Schlong, but I agree with you. It would have to be like June, right? Like after the pay-per-view at some point. I don't think we're going to see a Blood and Guts at the pay-per-view. It seems like they like doing that as a special event show. So maybe we'll see it then. Tony Khan was also asked about the Stadium Stampede. He said, I'll have to get back to you on. I've thought about it. It's a very different wrestling world now than it was during the pandemic. I think it's a great match, a signature match for us that people really enjoyed. But some of the reasons we presented that match were because of the challenges that existed in the world because of the pandemic. As far as presenting sporting events with live fans, that doesn't really exist in this live event pandemic. So it seems like maybe we are not going to get another Stadium Stampede. Maybe if they can figure out a way to work it in, they can. But I hear what he's saying. Like, that was it was a match they put together because they had the ability to do that in a facility that wasn't being utilized. Now, everything's kind of being utilized as we're back to live events. So it makes sense for me. But Asian Joe told you May 5th last year was the last Blood and Guts. So
Okay.
we're almost.
If they want to do it May, then I'm good.
They could do it early May. They could do it early June. Either way, the pay-per-view will be in May, so we can get past the pay-per-view and then get to that. But looks like we'll have another Blood and Guts coming. So that's where I kind of maybe see that going, Schlong, is it would be Jericho Appreciation Society versus, Kingston, Santana, Ortiz, and 2 other guys, whether they're announced ahead of time or not. I could see it definitely being Homicide and Hernandez filling out the team.
I do. I can see it too, yeah. And
Schlong, the last thing is there's always drama going on. He said, she said, he said stuff. The Bucks were asked about their recent bio in their Twitter after He Who Shall Not Be Named tweeted that wrestling is a love story. Matt and Nick Jackson changed their Twitter bio to the story of a couple of self-made SoCal kids who came from nothing and built a gigantic movement was never going to be romantic enough for you. So most people saw that as a direct response to Cody's tweet. Matt was asked by Justin Barrasso of Sports Illustrated about it, or he had mentioned to Sports Illustrated about it in an interview, and he said the Twitter bio was actually dedicated to cynical wrestling fans who've always discredited us and shaped a narrative early on that we weren't important to launch AEW or to the launch of AEW. So they ran with the story that made more sense to them. We talk to Cody regularly and hope nothing but the best for him. So Schlong, more internet drama as to whether that's the truth or not. It seemed like maybe a defensive response, but kind of some aimed at their fan base.
It's all about the he said, she said bullshit.
It's true.
I think you
Schlong,
better quit it letting shit slip. You could leave with a fat lip.
Schlong, I got news for you.
Guess
who's going to see Limp Bizkit?
I hope it's you.
Oh yeah, buddy, because last summer it got fucking canceled. So we're redeeming ourselves by going to Madison Square Garden. If you can believe that goddamn Limp Bizkit's playing Madison Square Garden, and I have floor tickets.
That's awesome. I hope it's a great show.
Oh my God. So yeah, that was mentioned in this Bucks interview. If you want to see it, the Bucks did an interview with Barrasso at Sports Illustrated, mostly about their match with FTR in the April 6th Dynamite. You can find it online at si.com, so you can seek that out. Schlong, that's all I got. Do you have anything else you want to talk about? You want to go on another rant about the women's division or anything like that?
No, I mean, I so rarely ran. I don't have another one in me. That took everything.
All right. Well, Schlong's not here. You can usually catch him with us, but when he's not here, Monday nights, he's with the Shining Wizards podcast at 7 p.m. on the Shining Wizards Network. They're the B show of the network. We know who the A show is, if we're being honest. But Matt splits his time. So if you're looking for Matt, you could try Monday nights and then check back in here on Wednesday nights with us. Kate is also out and about doing all sorts of shit. She does a Tuesday NXT podcast. She's here usually with us Wednesdays when she has her voice, and then she does a Friday night SmackDown and Rampage recap with SRS. So you can follow Kate on all of her social media accounts. Schlong, she changed her shit again, so I don't remember all her handles, but
hold on, I do. Hold on.
Oh boy.
It's Miss Kate Fabe.
Miss Kate Fabe. So she says she's quitting all of it. That's a direct quote. So she's quitting all of it. So good.
I'm quitting all of it. Oh.
Okay. So maybe she'll come back. Yeah. So yeah, check Kate out on social. You can see whatever she's doing when she's not here with us. Schlong, what are you doing when you're not here with us?
On Mondays and Tuesdays, I am live tweeting Dark and Elevation from Mark Order Pod. And then the rest of the week, I'm there. If you want to talk to me, I'll talk to you. We'll have some conversations.
And I don't do a whole lot outside of this. I'm not doing other podcasts or anything like that because I just don't have the time. But certainly check out some of the other shows on the Shining Wizards Network. I do enjoy Radioactive Metal and Wrestling Night in Canada, So I like those. I like your what is it? Shit, I can't remember. I just forgot the commercial. Your recognized excellence in sports talk or whatever. Fucking turnbuckle throwbacks with Phil and Chape.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So definitely check out some of the other shows. But if you want to support us, you can certainly, as Ryan said, follow us on our social at Mark Order Pod, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. If you go to any of those pages, you can click our link tree. There is links to all of our social media outlets that you can click and just follow. You can also find all of the podcast feeds that we have out there. And you can even find a link directly to our YouTube to subscribe. You can also click the link to get your free Mark Order podcast stickers. All you got to do is give us your address and your name, the country you live in, and then I will send you out some stickers free of charge. So just let me know where I'm sending them and I'll get them out as soon as possible. The other thing I always like to mention is thank you to everybody who is watching us live tonight. We know you were looking for Kate and she's not here, so we apologize. You just had the 2 live crew tonight. But Asian Joe came in late. Hey Joe, Eric F, Mark Quill, Rob Humphrey, all the Matthew Plus. Sorry, I'm scrolling. Gordon Post, Drew Nicholas. Everybody who chose to watch us tonight, thank you so much, and thanks for chatting along. We see you guys chatting with each other in the chat as well. So it's always fun to see you guys interacting. If you're listening to us in podcast form, we absolutely appreciate you too. We hope that wherever you're listening to us in podcast form, you are liking, subscribing, rating, reviewing, anything you can do to help us spread the word and help us show up in the algorithms. But you should certainly check us out in video format so you can see all the craziness that goes on while we do the show. Ryan's changing backgrounds, him putting a wig on to do Rate the Great. Sometimes Matt shows up shirtless. Sometimes Kate sounds like a robot. That's another one. In addition to Hangman and Wednesday I'd like to say robot sometimes.
Robot.
So check us out if you can on video. It's a lot of fun to watch, and those videos do stay up on our YouTube, our Facebook, and our Twitter. So yeah, what do you got, Ryan?
So schlong and good night.
Tune in next week for the next episode of the Mark Order podcast. Hopefully we have some of the other crew back. Until then, folks. Oh, Ryan.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Just trying to get you to break. No, nothing. We'll be back next Wednesday night at our normal time. But Saturday night, we're doing a special for Battle of the Belts too. So make sure you tune in after the show. We'll promote that and stuff like that. But thanks everybody for listening. We'll talk to you next week.
This concludes the Mark Order podcast. We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming. Join the Mark Order.